भारती न्यूज, सीधा, सटीक और निष्पक्ष।
Good evening and welcome to Bharati News. I'm Vansh Dhawan, and let's have a look at the biggest news stories of the day, starting with national headlines first. Supreme Court seeks independent probe into the Air India crash. On June 12th, one of India's worst aviation disasters in recent years occurred when an Air India flight crashed shortly after taking off, claiming the lives of 260 passengers and crew members. Currently, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation is leading the investigation. But families of victims and aviation safety experts have raised concerns about a conflict of interest since DGCA itself is responsible for overseeing airline safety regulations. On 22nd September, the Supreme Court of India issued a notice to the central government in a response to a petition filed by Safety Matters Foundation, an NGO, demanding an independent probe by a neutral body. The court stressed that transparency is essential in aviation tragedies given the loss of lives and public trust at stake. If accepted, the probe could be handed over to either an international body or an independent commission, which would set a new precedent in India's handling of air disasters. India plans minority stake sales in state-owned firms. The Government of India is moving ahead with its disinvestment strategy, announcing plans to sell minority stakes in around 6 public sector companies, including banks and insurance firms. According to Divestment Secretary Arunish Chawla, the move is a part of efforts to raise 470 billion rupees in the 2025 to 2026 financial year. This plan is significant because India has struggled to meet its annual divestment targets in the past, often due to political resistance, poor market conditions, or lack of investor appetite. By targeting partial sales in profitable public enterprises, the government hopes to balance fiscal discipline with public ownership. Market analysts believe this will help improve efficiency in state firms and reduce the government's heavy fiscal deficit. However, critics argue that frequent stake sales may undermine workers' job security and long-term policy control. Coming to international news, US and UK launch joint task force for capital markets and crypto oversight. On 22nd September, the governments of the United States and the United Kingdom unveiled a new initiative, the Transatlantic Task Force for Markets of the Future. The aim is to reduce regulatory friction for companies that seek access to both US and UK capital markets while also tightening cooperation on the fast-evolving crypto asset industry. The task force will prepare a joint report in 180 days, proposing ways to align security regulations, streamline cross-border listings, and create common standards for crypto regulation. This development comes amid global concerns about fragmented oversight of cryptocurrencies, which has allowed scams and frauds to flourish. By coordinating policies, the two nations hope to strengthen investor protection while maintaining innovation. Market experts see this as a strong signal that crypto will no longer remain in a legal gray zone and global finance may become more harmonized. Ukraine accepts IMF's 65 billion financing gap forecast. Ukraine's government has officially acknowledged the International Monetary Fund's latest projection that the country will face a 65 billion external financing gap throughout the 2027. This estimate is nearly double the earlier forecast of around $38 billion, highlighting the escalating cost of defenses, reconstruction, and economic recovery amid its ongoing war with Russia. The IMF's revised figure reflects Ukraine's massive spending needs, not just for its military, but for rebuilding destroyed infrastructure, hospitals, and schools. Kiev is now expected to rely more heavily on foreign aid, loans, and investment guarantees from Western allies. While Ukraine has already secured billions in commitments from the EU and US, meeting the 65 billion requirements will test donor fatigue, especially as global conflicts stretch resources thin. Economists warn that without consistent aid, Ukraine's economy risks slipping into a severe financial crisis. Coming to business news, Indian IT stocks slide amid US visa crackdown. On 22nd September, shares of India's top IT companies, including TCS, Infosys, and Wipro, plunged by nearly 3% after US President Donald Trump announced a drastic policy change, a new $100,000 fee on H-1B visa applications. Since Indian IT firms rely heavily on the US for both business and skilled worker deployment, this move could squeeze profit margins and slow growth. The H-1B visa has long been the backbone of Indian IT global expansion, enabling engineers to work on client projects in the US. The sudden policy shift is seen as a part of Trump's broader push to reduce foreign labor dependence and create more domestic jobs in America. Analysts say the hike will likely increase operating costs for Indian companies and could force them to accelerate nearshoring and automation. For investors, this raises short-term uncertainty, though long-term adoption is expected. Oil prices edge up amid geopolitical tensions. Global oil markets saw a modest rise in Brent and WTI crude prices on 22nd September. Global oil markets saw a modest rise in Brent and WTI crude prices on 22nd September, triggered by escalating geopolitical tensions in Europe and the Middle East. Reports of airspace violation and targeted airstrikes raised fears of supply disruptions, particularly around key shipping lanes. While prices moved upwards, gains were limited due to concerns about oversupply and rising inventories, especially in the US and China. Traders remain cautious as the market is balancing between fears of sudden disruptions and weak global demand due to slowing economies. For India, the world's third largest oil importer, even a small price spike have significant implications for inflation and trade deficits. Economists warned that prolonged instability in oil-producing regions could pressure India's import bill and affect consumer prices, especially in transport and food sectors. Ending with sports news, Satvik Chirag fall short in China Masters final. Satvik Siraj and Chirag Shetty lost in final of the China Master Super 750 tournament on 22nd September. The duo, ranked among the top 5 globally, were defeated in straight sets by Korea's Kim Won-ho and Seo Song-jae. Although the loss was disappointing, the Indian pair's run to the final further cemented their reputation as one of the strongest double teams in the world. Analysts noted that their aggressive style and chemistry were evident, but they struggled against Korea's defensive resilience and sharp net play in the final. Despite the setback, the pair's consistency has kept India's badminton hopes alive on the international stage, especially ahead of the 2026 World Championship. Ballon d'Or 2025 ceremony in Paris. On 22nd September, the prestigious Ballon d'Or 2025 ceremony was held in Paris, marking the 69th edition of the award that honors the world's best footballers. The ceremony crowned the best male and female players for the 2024 to 2025 season, with several categories also recognizing young talent, best goalkeepers, and humanitarian efforts. The Ballon d'Or remains one of the most anticipated events in global football, shaping careers and fan debates. While the winner reflects outstanding net performances at both club and international levels, the ceremony also celebrated football's broader influence off the pitch. This year's event came amid a highly competitive season in Europe, where rising stars challenged established legends, making the award more fierce. So that would be it from our end. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned to Bharti News for more news and more updates coming right up. Wishing you a good evening and a great night ahead.
भारती न्यूज़, सीधा, सटीक और निष्पक्ष।